If you have a question that you would like answered, you can download our app, the Al-Hijrah app. It is available both on the App Store and on the Play Store. Or you can go to our website, hijrah.org. That's HIJRAH.org. So the first question is it permissible to be a hard money lender? So I'm not sure the nature of how a hard money lender works, but basically lending in Islam is something that is considered like a qard hasana, right? So it's something that is meant to be empowering, and also when an individual gives a loan, he's doing it because he's trying to help the person. It's not meant to be a means of making money, right? It's not meant to be a means of earning. Now, are there some fees that an individual could charge if he's looking to loan money? Yes. What are those fees going to look like? Processing fees. So if an individual has, for example, an application, if an individual needs to do a check on the person who's getting the loan from him or who's taking the loan from him. We have, for example, in banks, they have loan officers. What does a loan officer do? He looks into the person's credit history. He sees if the person is a reasonable, is it okay to give this person a loan? What are the chances for those loans to be returned? This type of setup would be fine, right? This type of setup would be okay, and you can charge for those services. You cannot charge on the money itself because, again, in Islam, the idea is not to earn off of loans. It's not meant to be a business transaction. It's meant to be one of stimulation. It's meant to be one of empowerment. It's not meant to be a means to actually earn off of that. So if that's what a hard money lender is, these are the fees that can actually be incurred. The problem with such lending practices, even in Islam, if somebody does not pay me back my loan, what can I do? Nothing, really. there's not, Islamically there's not much you can do, which is why it's called the qard hasana, that you're giving the money, trying to help this person, and in the back of the mind I know what? That there's a chance I'm not going to get the money back, right? There's a chance I'm not going to get the money back. When the bank gives you money, do they keep this in the back of their mind that, maybe this guy's not going to give me back my money? No. And they will come after you, right? They're going to come after you, and they'll charge you for each delay on payment. So even this delayed on payment, this would be ribawi. This is not permissible because I'm making money directly off of that money and I'm charging for that versus service fees, right? So service fees are fine. Some people, they ask about credit cards. They say, okay, well, don't they charge for every time you use the card? Yeah, and that's fine. They're providing a service, right? What service are they providing that I don't have to carry around cash? And the convenience fee that's there, and they even call it a convenience fee, right? When you go and pay, why is that? What is the convenience that I can pay with a card and my money can be transferred to this restaurant? It can be transferred to this, hotel or whatever service it is that I'm utilizing. So these convenience fees are something that are permissible, but making money off of late fees and stuff, no, this is not something that would be permissible. So like I said, being a money lender in these situations, in an Islamic environment, I don't see any profit in this. If you're doing it because you want to help the community, that's great. But if you're doing it thinking that, okay, this is a good business opportunity, absolutely not. This is not something that we should be encouraging. The only thing I would encourage is that as Muslims, if we open credit unions or we open banks, the reason we would do this is twofold. It's better for the Muslim community to be in control of our money. Right? So some people might ask, okay, well, isn't there riba and isn't there interest? Yes, there is. But is it better that I leave it to Bank of America or, Wells Fargo or MTB or these other banks? Or is it better that we have control over our cash flow, right? Because many times they'll take our money and they'll invest it in whatever they want. Is it not better that we have control over that? And I would say absolutely, right? It's better we have control over it, even if we have to involve ourselves in those things. And the reason for that is because we don't want other people using our money for ill will and for ill means. Is having an annuity contract with life insurance company okay? I'm going to have to look into what an annuity contract is. As for life insurance itself, this is something that I've answered previously. But let me look into it, inshallah, and I will answer. Is it okay to fast Shawwal before making up Ramadan? We answered this before as well. Assalamu alaikum. I know only Jummah is required of men. I know only Jummah is only required for men, but is there a general obligation amongst men of the ummah that someone should be making salah in the masjid for the other prayers, or is that totally voluntary? Okay, so if I'm understanding the question correctly, that Salatul Jummah is the one that is an obligation, and I think the question is Salatul Jama'at fard kifaya? Right, so is Salatul Jama'at, or having congregational prayer, is it a collective obligation? And there's two parts to this question. The first part is, what is the ruling on congregational prayer outside of Salatul Jummah? So, for example, Salatul Fajr today in the masjid, what is the ruling? It's a sunnah. It's something that the Prophet ﷺ highly recommended. It's something that he highly encouraged. It's something that he ﷺ talks about the multiplication of reward. But the only prayer that is an actual obligation for us to attend in congregation is Salatul Jummah. طيب. Is it a collective obligation? Yes, because the prayer needs to be established, the masajid need to be fulfilled, and for those individuals who are coming and fulfilling that obligation, this is the collective obligation, then this is something that is fine. Saying that, do you have certain masajid where people don't go to pray outside of Salatul Jummah? And I've attended a few, right? So I'll be the only one in the masjid for Salatul Dhuhr. طيب. You do the best that you can. We live in a society, unfortunately, where masajid aren't regularly available, and not all the times we don't get the breaks that we have or we can take for the congregational prayers. What is the matter with weak hadith? So weak hadith, what is a weak hadith? A weak hadith is one that is something that it is difficult to attribute to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And how are they to be used? So you have a relatively later day scholar, Ibn Hajar. He died 852 after the hijrah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He put a few conditions, and I think his conditions are reasonable based on how previous scholars use them. He said that using a weak hadith can come, it can be used where? It can be used for an encouragement of virtuous actions or things that have already been established as something that are virtuous in and of themselves. So an example of this is reading the Quran virtuous. Is it good? Absolutely. So under those ahadith, under that category, you will find ahadith that talk about the virtue of specific surahs, right? So, for example, reading... well, Surah Al-Kahf is a little bit more problematic because you actually have a sound hadith. But I think there's a hadith like reading Surah Al-Kafirun, right? Reading Surah Al-Kafirun, there's a virtue that is associated with it. Reading Surah Yasin, there are virtues associated with it. So some scholars, they'll say, well, it's okay to use these hadith. Why? Because in general, reading the Quran is good. It's something that's considered that's mubarak. And if you're encouraging people to do something that is already established, it is already recommended, then this is something that is fine and it's something that can be shared. Another example of this, coming to the masjid, is it rewarding? Yes, absolutely. Praying ishraq, praying the sunrise, prayer at the time of sunrise or after the sunrise, is it good? Yes, absolutely. So this hadith about staying in the masjid from Fajr until sunrise, this hadith is weak. But many scholars, they'll use it. Why? Because both of these things, praying in the masjid and jama'ah, staying in the masjid, right? We have other hadith about staying in the masjid and the reward of staying in the masjid. And we have established hadith about making salat al-duha or making salat al-ishraq. All of these are established sunnah, right? These are things that are established in the religion. So is it okay to use such a hadith that kind of brings all of these things together? Many scholars will say, absolutely. But something that adds something, right? Something that is outside, that is not established, this is where those weak hadith become problematic. Another place that weak hadith are used are for historical accounts. So many times, if I'm looking into the history of something, and when something happened, I only have one chain of narration. Or sometimes I'll only have two. Versus issues of halal and haram, sometimes I'll have 20, 30 chains of narration. It's very easy to compare them. It's very easy to grade them. It's very easy to come to a conclusion concerning a hukum or a ruling. But when it comes to historical accounts, I only have one account. What do I do? So at that point, you have many of the scholars, Abdullah ibn Mubarak very famously saying that when it came to seer, when it came to maghazi, when it came to to tariq, when it came to these historical accounts, we took it easier in making rulings on those hadith. But issues that have to do with halal and haram, we were very strict and very stringent upon them, and Allah knows best. وصلى الله على خير خلق نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.